We're outside the White House, and you know that he's just in there laughing about all this, but we're at the 2019 Women's March. So the idea is basically we're going to go and ask some of these people what their signs are about and everything. We've got a lot of clever signs because, as Gavin McInnes said before he was deplatformed, this is all fashion. People are here protesting for the Women's March. They're protesting climate change. They're protesting Kavanaugh. So it's all under one big bubble of victimization that the left is out here congregating. So it's really nothing more than fashion. Do you want to talk to us about the Women's March?
I want you to take your hat off.
I don't have freedom of speech? She wants me to take my hat off. What a bummer. I wanted to get one of the pink hats so I could blend in a little bit more, but I don't know if they'll sell me one. They seem to be a little mad. So we were at the pro-life march yesterday, and there were probably about maybe 700,000 I think was the number that I heard as far as the estimate. So there's maybe 10,000 at its peak. Do you guys want to talk to us about the Women's March?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the purpose, I guess, because I really don't know.
The purpose is to empower females against this president and what he has said to people.
What has he said that is not empowering females, or that is, I guess, that warrants the need for 10,000 people to show up and wear hats?
I would say that I think it's his lack of thinking that makes us all want to come here and be together.
Because he's stupid?
I would say so.
Wouldn't that be something that men and women then could unite against? Why is it just a women's march?
Because he has made purposeful comments against women.
Like what?
Like the video before he got elected.
Where you said they could grab women by the,
Yes.
But that was consensual, though.
Who said that was consensual?
Was it not consensual? He said that when you're very wealthy, women will let you grab them by the pussy. Is that false? I'm not saying it's okay. I saw the one that caught my attention was build bridges, not walls. Could you explain why you're more pro-bridge than anti-wall, I guess?
Oh, so pro-bridge is building bonds that tie the United States together. So investing in our infrastructure rather than wasting money spending it on a barrier.
Wouldn't the wall be a form of infrastructure? Would you like to maybe tell us a little bit why you're the only person out here besides myself supporting Trump? What do you think of all of this then as a woman, and you seem to not be necessarily siding with the women who are here for the Women's March?
This is a hard question. I mean, I just don't think women in America are oppressed.
We'll get you guys next if you want to. So I feel like it's almost under like one big umbrella of victimization, and everyone's just out here complaining.
I wouldn't call it complaining because it is victimization. I do think that Trump does purposefully, he does put down women, he puts down people of color, and that is not okay for a president to do.
And I don't think by mentioning minorities, it just like for Black Lives Matter, I don't think it means that other lives don't matter because you're saying Black Lives Matter. I think it's highlighting certain
attention to the things that are wrong in our country today.
But if Trump appoints women into cabinet positions, more so than any other president in history, how is that putting down women? Or minorities if we have like the lowest unemployment records in history for minorities? It's not? It's not true? That's not a flipped statistic. And workforce participation too is at record highs. You want to see my shirt too?
Yeah, I'd love to see your shirt.
It's Justice Brett Kavanaugh. So when your sign says, we will not be quiet, believe survivors, when does the line, I guess, enact between not believing survivors and believing them? Or should they be inherently believed? So we have this thing in America called due process. It's innocent until proven guilty. And when you establish these social courts through which people are guilty until they're, removed from their... I sound like who? You have a platform. If you have an idea you'd like to share, it'll be on the internet. You can share it. So they don't want to talk. They just want to hold their signs and post it on social media and, pretend that they're fighting some sort of revolutionary war against this man, Donald Trump, who's done more to help women and minorities than any president in recent history. What do you see happening as far as the future of the Supreme Court? Because everyone thought that Brett Kavanaugh was going to be really partisan, but he really isn't. You may have seen that he just voted in favor of easier abortion access. So do you think that Trump is going to appoint a more conservative justice that might chip away more at Roe v. Wade and things like that?
Yes, I do think that Trump is going to appoint a more conservative justice because he is a Republican and that is what he will do. I do think that RBG hopefully will last longer than January.
Yeah, you can't
She's a pinnacle of women's rights, and honestly, she is such an inspiration, so I really do.
What's one of her favorite decisions of yours?
No, I'm not sure.
I've noticed that because I've seen people with the shirts that have the notorious RBG stuff on them. I feel like she's almost an icon within your side of the aisle, but no one seems to know anything that she's ever written an opinion on or...
To know a specific opinion, but I think it's important to know what she stands for, and I think you don't need to
Wouldn't knowing an opinion be knowing what she stands for?
I don't think you need to. I don't necessarily think you need to.
So you don't like the wall, but you do like the idea of increased border security?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that would be fine.
What would be something, I guess, that you would prescribe in order to have stricter border security then?
Well, what's the border security for?
To keep people that we don't want in the country out of the country.
Who don't you want in the country?
People that commit crimes.
Okay, most of the people that are coming across the border are hoping to escape.
Wouldn't that be an illegal crossing, though, making them criminals then?
I don't believe we should criminalize it. Our ancestors didn't come through a walled area. They came through Ellis Island.
That was before we had a welfare state, though.
Only stopped because of disease, and then they were allowed to come through.
62% of our ancestors weren't getting on welfare programs, though. There was no welfare state for them to subsist off of.
I think we're done with this conversation.
Anyone want to talk to us about? No? Okay. Well, appreciate it anyways for listening and stuff. Thank you. We have an ally.
Came on air. I spoke to Milo Yiannopoulos. He's a senior editor at Breitbart News, and there's even been speculation that he too could find his way into the Trump White House. I began by asking him what exactly alt-right means.
Well, it's a very young, vibrant, exciting new movement of conservatives in America. They are populists, they're nationalists, which is not a dirty word in America. They care about immigration, they care about trade, and they really hate political correctness.
And you would describe yourself as one of the sort of cheerleaders?
No, the media is desperate to crown me the queen of it. All I've ever done as a reporter is give them a fair hearing, give them a fair crack of the whip in the press. For that crime, I have been called all sorts of awful names.
But they're too extreme even for you, then?
No, I wouldn't say that. We're fellow travelers on some issues, but, you know, I'm very pro-Iraq, I'm very pro-Israel. There are all sorts of, points of difference, I think.
Do you think your erstwhile boss, Steve Bannon, chairman of Breitbart and now Trump's chief strategist, do you think he has horribly regressive attitudes? He's been described by some liberals an anti-Semite, a white nationalist. Have they got that wrong?
Well, Breitbart is a company staffed almost entirely by Jews. I am a gay Jew, and he made me into a star. He, flew over from America to hire Raheem Kassam to run the London office, who is a, brown-skinned Muslim. This stuff is ridiculous. What a lot of Brits don't always understand is how ugly and terrifying American politics can be. The name-calling can be absolutely extraordinary, and lots of Brits...
And name-calling by Breitbart, I mean, that is ugly. Look at these headlines.
Well, no,
Would you rather your child had feminism or cancer?
Well, that's not Steve,
There's no hiring bias against women in tech. They just suck at interviews. That's extreme. That's ugly.
No, it's not extreme. They're my headlines. They're not Steve's.
How are they not extreme?
Would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? Well, women agree with me. I mean, 7% of British women describe themselves as feminists. Just 7. It's only journalists who are still feminists.
Feminism is actually about...
Feminism about equality, of course. They say
you don't believe that. You're redefining it.
Well, no, they say one thing and they behave very differently. Feminists like to say, when they're on the defensive, oh, don't you believe in equal rights? But the way they actually behave is nasty, vindictive,
Do you believe in equality for women? Do you believe in equality for women?
Any normal person does. I want women to
so you're actually a feminist, then?
Well, I would describe myself as a second-wave feminist, but the modern version of feminism, this ugly, sociopathic, vindictive, mean, spiteful third-wave feminism, which which is defined by misandry. Okay. Women agree with me, not with you.
Donald Trump has talked about governing for all Americans, and yet Breitbart, the chief strategist now, has these extreme, divisive headlines. Do you understand why people are fearful about the divisions that are being caused?
No, I don't agree at all. Actually, what we do is we do something quite rare in journalism these days. We publish satire, we publish provocation, we publish all kinds of journalism that traditionally would have been left-wing. The sorts of dissident, mischievous, thought-provoking kind of stuff where you're like, well, wait a minute. Okay. And then you read it and you think, oh, actually, well, that's changed my mind.
Right,
Isn't it bizarre? Don't you?
No, I want to put some of that satire to you. I want to put some of your own satire to you. Wait a minute. I know you want women to log off the internet, but we are now in the Channel 4 News studio. You have to allow me to speak. You said that women offended online should log off. You said, yes, we'll certainly let women onto the men's internet a few times a year, as long as you follow a few basic rules. You said, wait, let me finish. You said, mass Muslim immigration must stop, or people will know real rape culture. Are we supposed to just soak that up and take it as one big joke?
Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong about that?
Answer me. Are we supposed to just soak it up and take it as one big joke?
You're supposed to treat it as it's intended and not wrench it from context. You know perfectly well that it is a provocation designed to make people think and perhaps to make them laugh.
The guy who's behind all this provocation, the guy who hired you and turned you into a star, as you put it, is now chief strategist in the White House. What does it mean that someone who delighted in offending people, who delighted in having a laugh at Muslims and women, is now at the centre of power?
I delight in offending people. I think the grievance brigade, victimhood, you know, the idea that hurt feelings are some kind of special currency, I think that needs to come to an end, and America agrees.
What does that say about you? What does that say about the guy who's now the chief strategist? Should Steve Bannon care that people are offended?
No, because America has been ruled for 30 years by people who are too worried about what other people feel, not what other people think, and too worried about feelings versus facts. For decades, America has been run by the grievance brigade, by social justice warriors, hand-wringers, feminists, Black Lives Matter, all these groups that are preoccupied with feelings first and facts later. They spread conspiracy theories and propaganda about the wage gap, campus rape culture. This stuff isn't real.
What does it say about you, though? What does it say about Steve Bannon, who's now chief strategist, that you don't care about offending disabled people, ethnic minorities, women? You don't care about that.
I don't care about offense taking. I care about facts. I don't care about your feelings.
I thought you believed in a post-fact universe.
So who?
That's one of your quotes.
Is it?
We live in a post-fact era. It's wonderful, you said.
Yes, what I meant from that was just telling the facts are no longer enough. You now have to be persuasive and charismatic and interesting and funny. Just telling people things isn't enough anymore.